Hello, welcome back to Business Bedtime. Tonight, we are going somewhere very familiar, somewhere you have probably been before. A big blue and yellow building, somewhere on the edge of a city. There is a large parking lot outside, the kind of parking lot that seems to go on and on, row after row of cars, quietly sitting in the afternoon light. You are going to IKEA. Not to rush, not to hurry, just to walk slowly and notice things. Tonight, we are going to look at something very calm and very interesting. We are going to explore the quiet, gentle ways that IKEA has designed its stores to guide you, to relax you, and to make you want to stay just a little longer. These are not dramatic secrets. They are simply patterns that researchers and journalists and shopping experts have studied for many, many years. And tonight, we are going to walk through them together, very slowly. There is no hurry at all. Let us begin at the beginning, at the entrance. Segment 1. The entrance. The decompression zone. Narazman. Wuri. Imagine that you push through a heavy glass door. The noise of the parking lot fades behind you. The light changes. It becomes softer, warmer. This is the first thing IKEA does, and it is very intentional. This area near the entrance has a name in retail design. It is called the decompression zone. The decompression zone is a quiet space, a transitional space, a space that exists so your brain can shift gears. You step off the busy road of everyday life and into something slower. Retail researchers have studied this design element for a long time. The idea is very simple. If a person enters a store while still in a hurried, distracted state of mind, they tend to notice less. They pick up fewer things. They look around less. They are somewhere else, mentally, even while standing inside the store. But if you can slow someone down, even just a little, just a small exhale of tension, then something changes. They become more present, more aware, more open. And that is exactly what IKEA wants. They want you to arrive and settle. Imagine standing there for a moment near the entrance. You look around slowly. There are some carts to your left, yellow and blue bags hanging neatly in a row. A small area with pencils and little notepads. Those pencils, those tiny yellow IKEA pencils, they have been there since the very early days of the company. They were introduced by Ingvar Kamprad himself, the founder of IKEA, born in 1926, in a small village in southern Sweden, a village called Agunnaryd. He started selling things as a very young boy. Matches first, then fish, then pens and pencils, and eventually, furniture. The pencils in the store are a kind of quiet invitation. They say, take your time, write things down, make a little list if you like. This is your journey. You pick up a pencil. It is very small and light in your hand. You take a little notepad too. And now, you are ready. You step toward the wide, gently sloping ramp, and you begin to rise, slowly, very slowly. Nair. Segment 2. The path. The long and winding road. Natterby. At the top of the ramp, you step into the showroom, and stretching out before you is a path, not a straight line, not a simple loop, a long, winding, gently curving path that moves through room after room, display after display, like a river moving slowly through a very quiet forest. This path has a name in retail design. Some researchers call it the long natural path. Others refer to it simply as the IKEA maze. It is designed so that you cannot easily take a shortcut. Or rather, there are some small passageways here and there, but the main route is long, very long. The average IKEA store covers somewhere between 200 and 300,000 square feet. That is roughly the size of several football fields, all connected together, all filled with sofas and lamps and bookshelves and little rugs. And the path winds through nearly all of it. Researchers at universities and retail consultancy firms have written about this design choice many times. The principle is very straightforward. The more time you spend inside a store, the more likely you are to see something you want. Not something you came for. Not something on your list, but something unexpected. A small wooden spoon. A very soft blanket in a shade of gray you had not thought about before. A little set of glass jars that seem somehow useful. These are sometimes called impulse purchases, and the long path creates many, many quiet opportunities for them. But here is the interesting thing. It does not feel like a trap. It does not feel forced or rushed. It feels like a pleasant walk, because the rooms are beautiful, or at least, they are carefully designed to feel that way. Each display in the showroom is called a room setting, or sometimes a vignette, a little scene of a life being lived. There is a bedroom, a bed neatly made, a small lamp glowing softly on a side table, a book left open, as if someone just stepped away for a moment. There is a kitchen, cups arranged just so, a plant in the corner, a bowl of fruit that is not real fruit, but looks very much like it. These rooms are not just product displays, they are stories, and your brain, as you walk through them, begins to place itself inside those stories. You imagine waking up in that bedroom. You imagine making coffee in that kitchen. You imagine sitting in that corner chair, with that exact lamp turned on, reading that open book. This is a process that researchers call mental simulation. When we imagine ourselves using something, we begin to feel a small sense of ownership over it. It already feels, just slightly, like ours. And once something feels like ours, it becomes a little harder to put back. And meanwhile, you keep walking through the living rooms, through the children's rooms with their bright colors and little reading tents, through the home office setups with their neat, tidy desks, through the bathroom displays with their small white shelves and neatly folded towels. And the path curves gently ahead of you, always curving, so you can never quite see where it ends. There is always just a little more. The famous retail anthropologist Paco Underhill, who wrote about shopping behavior in his well-known book Why We Buy, noted that stores with controlled paths tend to generate higher engagement. When shoppers can go anywhere immediately, they often go straight to what they need and then leave. But when there is a gentle path to follow, something interesting happens. People slow down, people look around, people linger. It becomes less like an errand and more like an experience. And IKEA has understood this for a very long time. You are still walking. The floor under your feet changes slightly from room to room. Sometimes it is a soft gray carpet, sometimes a warm wood-look floor, sometimes cool pale tile. Even these small changes are intentional. They signal a shift in environment. They keep your senses gently engaged, not excited, not startled, just gently aware. You pass a display of cushions. There are many, many cushions, in beige and gray and dark green and dusty rose. You touch one. It is very soft. You put it back, and you keep walking. Nogavruk mast Segment 3. The senses. Light, smell, and the restaurant. Maze. Halfway through your walk, you begin to notice something. A smell. Warm, savory, familiar. Heat, something like meatballs. And if you look, you will see the arrows on the floor, pointing toward the restaurant. The IKEA restaurant. This is not just a convenience. It is not just a nice place to sit down and rest your feet. The restaurant is one of the most carefully considered parts of the entire IKEA experience. In fact, IKEA serves close to 650 million meals every year across its restaurants worldwide. It is by some measures one of the largest food service operations on the planet. That is a remarkable thing to realize. A furniture company that also feeds 650 million people a year. But why? Why does a furniture company care so deeply about food? The answer is very simple. Hunger makes people impatient. A hungry shopper is an uncomfortable shopper. An uncomfortable shopper wants to leave. But a shopper who has eaten a plate of meatballs and creamy mashed potato, and perhaps a small piece of almond cake and a cup of coffee, that shopper is comfortable. That shopper is content. That shopper is in no rush at all. The restaurant is placed roughly in the middle of the store, not at the beginning, not at the end, somewhere in the middle, so that when you arrive there, you have already seen many things, and there are still many things ahead of you. You sit down, you rest your feet, you look out at the store around you, or perhaps at a window, and the large quiet parking lot outside, and you breathe. And then, after a little while, you are ready to continue. Researchers in consumer behavior have written about the effect of in-store dining many times. When a person has a positive sensory experience inside a store, food, warmth, rest, they tend to associate that positive feeling with the store itself. The good feeling of a warm meal becomes, gently and quietly, attached to the brand. IKEA becomes not just a place to buy a bookshelf. It becomes a place where you felt comfortable, where you sat down and had something warm to eat, where you rested for a little while. And we want to return to places like that. Now let us talk about the light. Inside the showroom, the lighting is very carefully designed. Each room setting has its own lighting. A bedroom might have warm, low light, the kind of light that reminds your body of evening, the kind of light that makes you feel like sitting down. A kitchen display might have slightly brighter, cleaner light, the kind of light that suggests functionality, practicality. Lighting designers who work on retail spaces have noted for many years that warm light, particularly light in the amber and soft white range, tends to make people feel more at ease, more willing to browse. Less hurried, cooler, brighter light creates a sense of urgency. It signals efficiency, speed, do what you came to do, move on. But warm light says, you can stay for a while. This is a comfortable place. IKEA's showroom uses this principle very well. It borrows the language of home lighting to make you feel like you are already home. And while you are walking through that soft, warm light, there is something else happening, very gently, very quietly. Pricing. Calm, patient pricing. IKEA's prices are shown in a particular way. Large, clean cards next to each item. Simple numbers, often quite low. But what is more interesting is the way that price is presented in context. You are standing in a beautifully arranged bedroom. The lamp is glowing. The bed looks inviting. The whole room feels like a reasonable life. And the prices confirm that feeling. Yes, this is achievable. Yes, this is within reach. Researchers studying what is sometimes called aspirational accessibility have noted that IKEA occupies a very particular space in people's minds. It is not cheap in a way that feels low quality, but it is not expensive in a way that feels out of reach. It sits right in a very comfortable middle ground, a place where your imagination can run and your wallet can follow. You see a small bookshelf, the Kallax. You know this one. It is the one everyone has. Square compartments. Simple lines. You have seen it in home offices and children's rooms and hallways all over the world. The price is right there on the label. And you think, I could use one of those. Not urgently. Just eventually. You write it on your little notepad with your little yellow pencil. Mer. Segment 4. The warehouse. The names. And the psychology of building. There. Ooh. You have now moved past the showroom. The beautiful rooms have given way to something different. You are in what IKEA calls the market hall. This is where the smaller items live, the textiles and kitchenware, the plants and storage solutions, the little things that somehow feel essential. The market hall has a different feeling than the showroom. It is brighter here, more practical, more like a very well-organized market. The aisles are wide enough to walk comfortably, but full enough that there is always something to see. Bins of candles in every size, rolls of fabric, dozens of different kinds of hangers, small hooks for walls, kitchen utensils in every configuration you can imagine, everything priced very clearly, everything labeled with its Swedish name. Ah, the names. This is something many people find charming about IKEA. Every single product has a name, a real name, a proper noun, not a product code, not a number sequence, a name. The naming system was created by Ingvar Kamprad himself, partly because he had dyslexia and found numbers difficult to hold in memory. So he built an entire naming logic around words, around places and people and nature. Beds and wardrobes are named after places in Norway. Sofas and armchairs are named after places in Sweden. Dining tables and chairs are named after places in Finland. Outdoor furniture is named after Scandinavian islands. Bookshelves are named after occupations and professions. The Kulaks, the Billy, the Hemnes. Children's items are named after mammals and birds. Fabrics and curtains are named after women's names. Kitchen items are named after culinary words and terms. This entire system creates something subtle and important. It makes each product feel like an individual, not a thing, not inventory, something with a name. Buy. And we relate differently to things that have names. We remember them more easily. We talk about them more easily. I bought a Billy is a different kind of sentence than I bought item number 843. One is a small story. The other is a transaction. And IKEA has always wanted you to have stories. You continue through the market hall. You pick up a glass. You look at it. It is a simple glass, clear, slightly tapered toward the base, very light in your hand. The price is quite low. You put 4 of them in your cart. This is exactly what IKEA hoped you would do. Not because it is a manipulation, but because the glass is genuinely good enough and genuinely affordable enough, and right there in front of you. And so, you do. Now comes the warehouse. You step through a wide opening, and the ceiling rises above you. Very high, tall metal shelving units stretching upward, filled with flat, heavy cardboard boxes, each box labeled with a name and a number. KAALAX 4x2, aisle 17, bin 22. You look at your notepad. You wrote it down earlier. Aisle 17, bin 22. You walk through the warehouse. It smells like cardboard and a faint trace of wood. The floors are smooth concrete. Your cart wheels hum softly as you move. Aisle 14, aisle 15, aisle 16, aisle 17. You find bin 22. The box is large and flat. You tilt it forward carefully, and it slides down into your cart. There is something satisfying about this moment, something tactile and real. You found the thing. You retrieved it yourself. It is yours now. This is another deeply considered part of the IKEA experience. The self-service warehouse model. You carry your own items. You load your own cart, and later, you will assemble the furniture yourself. Researchers in consumer psychology have written about something called the IKEA effect. It was studied in detail by behavioral economists Michael Norton, Daniel Motion, and Dan Ariely, who published their findings on the topic in 2011. The finding was this: when people build something themselves, even something simple, they value it more highly than if someone else had built it for them. Participants in the studies were asked to evaluate flat-pack furniture, and origami figures, and building block constructions. In each case, the things that people had assembled themselves were rated as more valuable, more beautiful, more worth keeping, even when outside observers rated them as ordinary, even when the quality quality was exactly the same as a professionally assembled version. The effort creates attachment. The hours spent with the instruction booklet, the small wooden dowels, the little Allen key, the quiet satisfaction of stepping back and seeing a completed thing, all of that becomes part of the object. The Kallax is not just a shelf. It is the shelf you built on a Sunday afternoon, with a cup of tea going cold beside you, while something quiet played in the background. That is a memory, and IKEA has placed itself at the center of millions of those memories. Segment 5. The Catalog. The Vision of Home. They are there. For many decades, before the internet changed everything, the IKEA catalog was the entry point to the whole experience. It arrived in homes every August, a thick, glossy book, hundreds of pages, full of those same room vignettes we walked through tonight. At its peak in the year 2016, the IKEA catalog had a print run of approximately 200 million copies. 200 million copies. For comparison, the Bible is printed in approximately 100 million copies per year. The IKEA catalog was, for a time, the most widely distributed printed publication on the planet. People kept these catalogs for months. They sat on coffee tables. They were browsed slowly before bedtime. Pages were folded down at the corners. Items were circled with pens. The catalog was, in a very real sense, a dream book, a book of possible lives. Each page offered a version of home, a version of comfort, a version of how things could look if only you had that lamp, or that rug, or that particular shade of gray curtain. The catalog was discontinued in 2021. IKEA announced the decision quietly. Digital media had changed too much. People were finding their inspiration on screens instead of pages, but the spirit of the catalog lives on, in the website, the app, the in-store displays. The same principle. The same vision. Here is a life you could be living. Here is a home that could feel like this. Here is comfort, within reach. And now let us talk about the name itself. The name IKEA. 4 letters. They come from 4 pieces of one person's life. I for Ingvar, K for Komprad, E for Elmterid, the name of the farm where he grew up, A for Agunnaryd, the name of his small village in southern Sweden. 4 letters from a life. Ingvar Kamprad founded the company in 1943. He was 17 years old. He registered it with his father's help. And over the following decades, through many years of quiet, patient work, he built it into something that today operates in more than 60 countries, with more than 400 stores worldwide, and revenues of many billions every year. Kamprad was known for his personal simplicity. He flew in the back of the plane. He drove an old Volvo. He ate the cheap meatballs at IKEA restaurants when he visited stores. He believed deeply and genuinely in his company's mission. That mission, as he stated it many times, was to create a better everyday life for the many people, not the few, the many. People with modest budgets and big hopes, people starting out, people moving into small apartments, people who wanted their home to feel like something, even if they could not spend very much to make it so. And in a very genuine way, that mission has been fulfilled. Millions of first apartments around the world have a Billy bookshelf in them. Millions of children have grown up sleeping in IKEA beds. Millions of families have eaten dinner at IKEA tables. The psychological patterns we have talked about tonight, the path, the lighting, The room settings, the restaurant, the names, the flat pack model, they are real. They have been studied and documented and discussed in books and academic papers and business school lectures around the world. But they are also, in a way, in service of something genuine. A store that wants you to feel at home. A company that wants you to be comfortable. A vision of everyday life, made affordable, made reachable, made real. Midday closing. The end of the walk. The smites. And now, we are done with our walk. You are at the checkout. The cart moves slowly along the belt. The flat boxes are scanned one by one. The small items from the market hall. The glasses. The candles. The little hooks. Each one makes a soft beep as it passes the scanner. Outside, the parking lot waits in the late afternoon light. The sky is very large above it. A quiet, pale sky. The kind of sky that has no strong opinion about the time of day. You load the boxes into your car. Carefully. Steadily. The flat pack boxes are heavy but manageable. They slide into the back seat. One by one. You close the door. You sit for a moment. The car is warm and quiet. Outside, other people are still arriving, pushing carts through the parking lot, walking slowly toward those big blue and yellow doors, beginning their own long wandering walk. You start the car. The engine hums, and then you pull out slowly, and the store grows smaller behind you, and smaller, and then it is gone. Tonight we walked through the quiet logic behind a very large blue building. We talked about the path that winds and curves, and the rooms that feel like someone just stepped away, and the warm light that says stay a while, and the meatballs that say you are welcome here, and the names that make things feel like they have a small story of their own, and the effort of building something with your own two hands that makes you love it a little more. None of this is sinister. All of it is human, a deep and careful understanding of how people feel, and what makes them comfortable, and what makes a place feel worth returning to. That is the quiet secret of IKEA. Not tricks, not schemes, but a very long, very patient conversation with the quiet parts of how we feel at home. Good night, sleep well, and if you dream of a very large blue building somewhere on the edge of a city, you will know why. Ambient close. For extended play. The parking lot is empty now. The last light of the afternoon is fading slowly from the sky. The big blue and yellow sign glows softly above the entrance. Inside, a few staff members are straightening the room settings, folding a blanket very neatly, replacing a cushion, turning a mug so its handle faces the right direction. The showroom is very quiet now. The lamps in the bedroom displays are still on, warm little pools of soft amber light. The kitchen display stands neat and still, the bowl of not real fruit. The plant in the corner, the chairs tucked gently under the table. In the market hall, rows and rows of things wait quietly on their shelves. Glasses in neat stacks, candles in long even rows, soft towels folded into perfect squares. The warehouse is very still. The tall shelves reach up into the dark above, hundreds of boxes resting in their numbered bins, each one holding a future bedroom, or a future kitchen, or a future shelf full of books.
All that quiet potential.
Resting in the dark. Tomorrow the doors will open again, and the people will come. They will pick up their little yellow pencils. They will begin to walk the long, slow path. They will pause in the doorways of imaginary rooms. They will smell the warmth of the restaurant from a corridor away. And somewhere along the way, they will find something they did not know they were looking for. Something soft, or something practical. Or something with a name that sounds like a small town in northern Sweden, and they will put it in their cart and carry it home, and it will belong to them. That is all for tonight. You can let this play as long as you like. There is nothing more to do, nothing more to think about. Just the quiet image of a very large store, somewhere on the edge of a city, with its lights on low and everything in its place, waiting patiently for tomorrow.